Hi there, this is Alexander Hall for Viva Voce Week 7. So, for this week, I'm going to be talking to you about my progress for my assessments and how I'm doing on my solos and monologues, and just giving you a good detail about how I'm doing on everything that is going on at the moment and what I went over this week and how I'm going to apply it for next week, which is going to be week 8, and seeing how my progression is going with my solos and monologues, and seeing what's going to help me to keep pushing with it. But how my progress is going so far, I'm going to give you that now. So the first question is, how is my preparation for assessments going? So it's going really well. It's getting there. You know, I've already learnt my lines. I've already learnt my lyrics. I'm already comfortable with everything that I've got to work on. So that's all fine in that sense. And I'm already starting to work very closely on my characterization of everything, and also taking on board all the feedback I am getting from staff and from some of the students on how I'm doing on my progress and how my progress can keep working up. So yeah, at the moment I've already got a clear idea of how to express each solo, each monologue as best as I can at the moment, but there's still a few picky areas that I need to just keep looking over. So in terms of how I'm facially expressing everything, I think that's something I'm just trying to work on at the moment, which I'll talk about later. And of course, thinking about the location of where I'm at in everything I'm doing. So from monologues to solos, I need to think about the location, which is a very important part of that. And my next question is now, what do I need to do to ensure I am ready for the assessment? So keep going over everything independently. If you get a moment, maybe just say the monologue to yourself or sing the solos to yourself, and just keep knowing what to anticipate. Just make sure you're clear that you know what you're doing and everything. That's what I'm going to try and do as much as possible for the next few weeks before my assessments, which is so my singing assessment is on the 29th of November, and then my monologues assessment is going to be on the 30th of November. So I need to make sure that in the next 3 weeks I'm fully prepared and fully ready to go with it, and so that I'm ready to go in and start doing what I'm going to be doing. So that's all good. And the next thing I need to do is keep asking staff, how am I doing? What's going to help me to improve? Keep taking on board feedback, and maybe, if they've got suggestions, work it out in my own spare time. See if some of the vocal feedback I'm getting is, in terms of how I'm vocally delivering my material, that it's vocally suitable for me. So if for example there was a really high note that I just could not reach, if I just tried and it was still not working, just maybe give it a go and see if it works, and if not, try something else and see if it's any better. But just keep working out different ideas and keep working out if it's going to work its way forward or not. So keep looking over that and keep seeing how it's going to plan out as well. So that's very important for that side. Nextly, my next question for this is, what specific feedback did I have from last week? So last week I was only working on What Do I Need with Love, which unfortunately we only got the time to do because unfortunately our Friday session was cancelled because Leanne was in an emergency, and so we couldn't go over our monologues, which was unfortunate. But yeah, anyway, on that subject, I went over when I was doing What Do I Need with Love with Carly, which I only started rehearsing with her one of the things that she said to me that I'm struggling a lot of is when doing the ending. So doing the ending of What Do I Need With Love. So at the end when it goes, but now I've got it, with the bad right at the end, what I do a lot of is, you probably was very different to how I would do it when I'm really projecting, is I keep straining the neck because it's right at the end and I want to try and get the best note out possible. And one of the things I do is I really strain a lot, and it tenses the neck up so much. And after that, I'm not really singing from my diaphragm, which is what I need to do, especially if I'm doing like quite an upbeat song, which is from a musical, like What Do I Need With Love? And Thoroughly Modern Millie is very upbeat, so I need to be very careful about how I project the very last bit of that song, and just see and just work out how it's really gonna plan its way in, and just don't strain a lot. Just let it come and let it put its way across as strongly as possible. So keep working on that. Make sure it's as slick as possible, and just make sure that when I'm at home or either I'm in the college or I'm looking in a mirror and I want to work on the song, right at the end, just work on how I'm structuring my neck, and make sure I keep watching my neck, especially on the right end at the ending of the song, and make sure that the neck is not strained, and just keep making sure that I'm relaxed when doing that last note, because if I keep straining my neck, then it will just not sound very powerful. Because when you go on a really powerful note, you've got to make sure that you relax it and that it's ready, instead of just really letting it out and then you're letting your neck push forward. It will just ruin the performance, and it might not make it as strong, and it might make it sound more like a shout than an actual singing note. And that is very important because Thoroughly Modern Millie is not like one of those shouty musicals. It's a lot more of a love story, and love stories are, when you come to doing a love song, it's really important that you don't strain your voice and you don't shout anything. You've got to just be really quite gentle with how you sing, because a bit like how gentle we have to be when we come to Love at First Sight and all that kind of thing. So, yep. What specific areas do I need to improve for next week? So, make sure I relax the neck. As I said before, go in the mirror, make sure that I'm checking the neck, that it's not just to make sure that I am not straining, and if I feel the strain, if I can see my neck pulling out, then I need to just stop and try again. Just keep going over it every time. Make sure that I'm relaxing the neck, and just make sure that I'm really supporting with the diaphragm, especially at the end, and just use the diaphragm so much, and just not let the strain come to me at any point. Just let it, just really push it out. Then the next thing I need to work on is jaw structure. So jaw structure is also very important to help less tense the neck. And so what I need to do is work on how I'm going to let that note out with the right jaw, so making sure my jaw is correctly balanced. So when I say, but now I've got, so with the ga, it's ga. So opening the mouth like this, ga. It sounds quite operatic, but not. But now I've got it. So on the it, you're letting the jaw go this far. Maybe make it like it. Maybe just stretch it a little bit, but not too much. But make it like got it. So you're not like going got it. because that won't help. Just make it really small and simple when opening. So just a maybe do that. And then when it comes to bad, just use the jaw properly. So maybe just slow it back to the same places where I did got. So that's where it will work a lot more. And see if that works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But maybe just do it while I'm in the singing studio and just see exactly if it's going to do me any good, if it's going to really help me to improve on that side of the area. And yeah, just keep making sure that it is in there and just not be really overlooked by it. Just keep the jaw simple, put less into how you open the mouth, and make sure that when you're opening, all that's kind of opening with it is the chin, that you're just letting the chin open widely, and then the jaw does less of the work. So put less into the jaw and more into how the jaw opens. So what the mouth does less, the jaw and the chin does more. So maybe put less in that and then put more into the chin. See if that works. And then my final question is, what am I going to do this week to make sure I'm assessment ready? So with my assessment coming up, double check that I am word perfect with all my bits and pieces. Because, I might think, oh, I'm word perfect, I don't need to worry about that. But of course I need to still keep practicing even though I'm already word perfect. So I'm working on characterization, working on the prop side of it, and working on locations and everything. So the thing that I'm going to try and do is keep going over it every time, because the more repetitive it becomes, it's going to come really natural to me in the assessment. So what I need to do really is, which I really need to do a lot, is keep going over everything. Work on the location, so think about how I'm going to enter the scenes, how I'm going to enter, how I'm going to go off, and where I end when I'm doing a song, or how I'm going to end when doing the monologue, how I'm going to exit, and everything else. So just keep looking at that. And keep thinking about what the character's perspective is. So, for example, what I need to think about in terms of with Billy Bigelow from Carousel, soliloquy is done straight after he finds out that Julie is pregnant, and his feeling from that is a mixture of overwhelm. So it's quite a bit of a nerve wrack for him that he's already found out that Julie is pregnant, but at the same time he's quite delighted because he's always wanted to be a father. And so his reaction is, I'm going to be a father, I'm going to be great, I'm going to be an amazing father, I'm going to act I'm going to have all the inspiration in the world, I'm going to inspire this good boy Bill, that I'm going to call Bill, and he's going to be named after me. I'm just going to be on top of the world. So in this, he's quite on top of the world. He's gonna feel like he's the greatest man in the world. So the way I have to portray that is think about an area where I've always been excited. Think about very exciting moment I've found out. So maybe think about if I've just found out I've been accepted a place in a show that I've always wanted to be in, or I'm doing something I've always wanted to do. The same thing applies when doing Billy. It's just act with so much conviction and act like you're really excited. Like you've got everything coming upon you. Like everything's going to happen. And you're just going to feel no one's going to stop you. So that's the one thing I'm going to do. And then, of course, the other thing that he does from that as well is he then realises that there's every likely chance that the pregnancy could turn into a girl, and he forgets that it could be a girl because he keeps prioritising that it's going to be a boy, it's going to be a boy, it's going to be a boy, and then all of a sudden goes, oh, it could be a girl. And then that's when he finds out he's got to get himself a job, because at that time he's jobless and he needs to find himself a job, because back in the 1870s in New England, and even in then, the whole world, women were very reliant on their husbands finding a job, because they do most of the working in the house, and the men do the working outside, so they can get their wages taken back into the house. And that's exactly what Billy needs to do, especially if they're going to commit to getting a child. So in a way, there's a mixture of emotion in it. There's a mixture of, I'm excited, but then there's a mixture of, oh no, I need to work hard. I need to find a job. I need to work as hard as I can to make sure that I give the best wage, I can give the best profit, I can give all that I can for this child. If I don't financially support them, what am I going to do? How am I going to get anywhere? That's the same thing. And the same when it comes to Jimmy. He's already in the jail, but he's already fallen in love with Millie. And so his reaction to that is, I need to try and impress her. How can I impress her? So it's more like a question. He's more like questioning himself. What do I do to get love from her? How am I going to do that? Because he's already found out that Millie is in love with her boss, Trevor Graydon, which is what happened back in 1922. Back in the 1920s, women were reliant on men who had jobs, who had quite high-paid jobs, because they wanted people with as much money. But then that's when Millie found out that, she needed to find someone who was nice to her, not just someone who was wealthy, and someone like that. That actually, it's important about finding the right company. And with Jimmy is just like thinking to himself, I just don't know how I'm going to do that. How am I going to be able to get her away? How am I going to force her off of Trevor? And how is that going to be possible? No one knows. So one thing that he is trying to do is he's trying to think. He's a bit self-deprecated. He's going, I'm doing everything. I can get a girl every day and nothing happens. No one's going to know. And because at that point, Muzzy sends Trevor off to find a woman who doesn't rely on people who have a lot of money, who are very wealthy. So he's quite stressed because he's failing the project that Muzzy has offered him to do, so that he can go in and just show that he's got every right to go in and start trying to impress Millie, which he's failing. So he's trying to find a way in which he can make sure that he's going to make Millie feel like she's doing the right thing by going straight for Jimmy instead of Trevor. And that's before the point when Trevor then falls in love with Dorothy, and it goes into a complete eye. But that's kind of it, and that's the same with the monologues. The monologues I need to keep working on location, working on the style, working on how, for example, with Richard the Bastard, Richard has just seen that King Arthur has died because he tried to get away from the castle because King John was not happy with his authority that he was trying to put over him, and he was trying to escape but accidentally died. And then Richard goes to John and says, he's dead. And then, at that point, John's quite scared and worried, and he's feeling, but that villain Hubert told me he did live. And, at that point, that's when Richard's trying to get his own authorities right onto King John and say, no. Well, he did know, but for all he knew. And that's when he's just saying to him, you've got to be great. You've got to not let these things get the better of you. You've got to just try and be stirring, try and be the stronger man. You're the guy in authority. You've got to be out there. You've got to tell people. You've got to send a good example of good, and just make a resolution. Just put this out. Don't just be defeatist. Do your thing, because if you're defeatist, there's no point in you being a king. And then because he's really strengthening his leadership in him, that's when King goes, have the ordering of this present time. And that means, why don't you be kin if you're going to act like that towards me? And then he goes, fine, go. Just have good courage and don't be like this again. And then that's the same thing. And with Fear of Music, when I'm doing the monologue from Andy is just, I think what happens is Luke is playing one of his cassette CDs in the living room, and Andy's just going in and saying, oh, you're playing that again? And, you know, at that point they're just arguing, like, the whole way through the play, like they've done the whole way. And all of a sudden they're starting to talk about what was something they did that was wrong, and then all of a sudden they're talking about how they killed an animal out accidentally. And so then all of a sudden Andy's going on, well, you know what, I killed a badger once. So he's then trying to stop the argument from going forward and backwards, and he's going, no, I killed a badger once. And I wrote this really wicked song, and then he's trying to give that he was actually trying to be productive at that time before it all happened. And yeah, he's trying to also be quite comedic, but also kind of be quite sorry for himself as well, because he's quite a strange character. He's got this mixture of carelessness, but also this mixture of quite sympathetic as well. So, you know, it's got to be seen that way. So I think that's what I'm going to try and work on over this time and work on throughout next week. Just keep thinking about it, keep consciously going over everything that I know and see what I can do and see if I can mash it a little bit. See what happens. And, you know, create what I can see. Take inspiration, of course, but also try and think about originally owning up, because the most original you can be, it will make it even better, because no one likes someone who's a copycat, especially copying other versions that other people have made. Just do your own version, see what happens. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, that's me done for Viva Voce Week 7, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.